podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to ZPG Ice Maidens, the only dedicated Women's National Ice Hockey League podcast.
Part of the ZPG network of UK ice hockey podcasts.
We're in partnership with
the Hockey Art Club, hockey clothing for hockey people.
Worn by the best
and hated by the rest.
Listen to the ZPG network.
Get a 10% discount on everything
at hockeyartclothing.co.uk.
Just enter the code ZP10 on checkout to get your discount.
We're also part of the Sports Social Podcast Network,
the biggest sports podcast network in Europe,
boasting over 450 podcasts
for more than 15 different sports.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode on ZPG Ice Maidens. We've a lot to get through this week, so let's get started with Division 1 North, where Caledonia had a home doubleheader against the Sheffield Shadows. The Queens got off to a good start in the opening period, finding the net 6 minutes in when Emily Campbell scored. The Scottish side added to their lead early into the second period, netting twice in just 19 seconds. First Canadian defender Michelle Davidson scored, followed by Vicky Carson, with Beth Diascoon getting the assist. Queens made the game safe early into the final period when Cynthia Towle netted her first goal since arriving from Taiwan off a Claire Turnbull feed. Beth Diascoon then scored on a power play 5 minutes later, with Jess Malloy getting the helper, before Vicky Carson completed the scoring with her second of the game, with less than 6 minutes remaining. Caitlin Eastwood, who was making her Queen's debut, registered an assist on the play. Cynthia Towle collected the Queen's Blinder Award, with Player of the Game going to Kat Eastwood. Ishbel Wright took home the Shadows Player of the Game. Part 2 of the Queens and Shadows series took place the following morning, with the home side quickly taking the lead. Vicky Carson and Sophie Campbell scoring inside the opening 3 minutes of the game. However, Sheffield woke up after that and made life difficult for their opponents. But the game moved away from them around the midpoint of the contest when the Queens converted twice on the power play in less than 2 minutes. Maggie Agnew and young defender Violet Mayer both scoring. For Violet, it was her first career goal at any level. Again, the Shadows restricted the Queens, with the final 2 goals not arriving until the final 3 minutes or so. Michelle Davidson and Maggie Agnew were their second, ensuring the Queens would repeat the 6-0 scoreline from a day earlier. Player of the game went to Agnew, who had a 3-point morning and a monumental shot block on the penalty kill at the end of the second. Sophie Campbell was named the Queen's blinder for a solid 2-way game, and Shadows Player of the game went to Robin Wilson-Barrett. The Murrayfield-based side have now played 4 and won 4, scoring 19 goals, but are yet to concede. The only other game to take place in Division 1 was that between the Nottingham Vipers and the Solway Sharks. The two sides met in the Leigh City around the same time a year ago, with the Sharks very unfortunate not to record what would have been a much-deserved win on their Tier 2 debut. Fast forward a year then, and the Dumfries-based side put that record right, and then some. GB Under-18s international Cassie McGregor was the star of the show, having a hand in 6 of her side's goals in a 7-1 win. Her rebound was put home by Megan Walker for the opener just 4 minutes in. But the Vipers were back level in the 13th minute when Morgan Cameron put home a Claire Jones pass at the back door. The sides were not level for long though, as McGregor took over the game, netting 2 minutes later to restore her side's lead before putting the Sharks further ahead a minute into the second period. Emily Duffy made it 4-1 midway through the session, with Rose Abbott collecting an assist. The Sharks smelt blood and went on the attack once more, adding 2 more goals before the period was over. Mo Muir scored her first goal of the season off a McGregor pass, before the Dumfries-born youngster completed her hat-trick with 53 seconds left in the period, and Finnish defender Rosa Salonen getting the assist. McGregor scored a 4th in the final period to give the Sharks their first ever win at this level, and what a way to do it. Player of the game went to Emily Duffy, who scored her first goal for the Sharks, and the Sharks' hat was awarded to Kate Bateman. And on that note, I know it's a little bit late, but here is the season preview for Division 1 North. For the past few seasons, the second tier, previously known as the Prem, has had 9 teams in it, but over the summer it was announced that the league will expand, with 2 extra teams coming in and then split into what is effectively a North and South Conference. The North will house 5 teams: Kingston Diamonds, Sheffield Shadows, Nottingham Vipers, the newly promoted Caledonia Steel Queens, and the Solway Sharks, who were initially relegated at the end of last season, but get to have a second crack at Division 1. The South will have 6 teams in their division. Last season's league and playoff double winners Swindon Topcats will be joined by Bristol Huskies, Firebees, Chelmsford Cobras, Milton Keynes Falcons, and newcomers Cardiff Comets. The Welsh side, who so cruelly missed out in the promotion final on each of the last 2 seasons, will finally get to return to the second tier after all. Kingston Diamonds will start the season as favourites to top the North after they finished last season as runners-up to Swindon in both the regular season and the end-of-season playoffs. Most of the players are also on 2-way deals with their Elite League side, so have quality all over the ice, not least with Mia Forbes, who led the team in scoring last season with 15 goals and 28 points. Mia usually centres a line with Lydia Lutwich, third in scoring with 10 goals and 16 points, and Whitley Bay Beacons forward Ruby Newlands. The 3 are good friends off the ice and are also part of the GB Under-18s lineup on the ice. Mia, along with Diamonds defender Grace Cooper and new recruit from Sheffield, Millie Fulbourne, took part in the World Selects Invitational in Budapest over the summer. Skating for an American team, they battled it out with sides from the Czech Republic, Hungary, Italy and Germany. The top line usually sees Danny Newlove centre second top scorer Kiana Tate, who netted 11 times last season and added 16 points. Kiana had an excellent season for both the Div 1 and Elite League Diamond sides last year and will be looked to for on-ice leadership. They will have to do without their elite line mate Lizzie Saunders for this season, however, after the Nottinghamshire-born forward signed to play for Sutton Sting in the Men's League. The third line usually sees Kate Taylor and Ketz Robinson either side of Katie Payton, while Lois Tomlinson does a good job alongside youngsters Martha Brown and Izzy Oswin, the latter of which continues a rapid rate of development and is one of the most exciting young players to watch. With Jess Wooding returning from injury, a lot of the defensive responsibility will fall to her and blue line partner Grace Cooper. The pair are proving to be amongst the best defenders in the country. Jazz Little and Olivia Turner play regularly in the elite side too, while the likes of Louisa Keller and Latvian-born Evie Wenger could also feature. Georgina Ashton was the main goalie last season and boasted a .912 save percentage across 15 games. Hot on the Diamonds' heels this season will be the Caledonia Steel Queens, after their dramatic promotion from Division 2 at the playoffs. They go into the season with a 26-player roster that looks stacked at every single position. Queens opened the campaign with 4 forward lines. Last season's Spirit of the Game award winner Nikki Russell put up 11 goals and 16 points, and continues alongside Canadian centre Maggie Agnew. However, coming in on that line is former Solway forward Vicky Carson. Born in Twynham, Vicky brings intelligence and energy to the lineup, having played in Tier 2 with the Sharks last season. Vicky began with the Sharks under-20s team in 2014-15, making her senior debut the following year. She also has a very glittering career in university hockey, having previously iced with the Queens when they were a university side, while also turning out for the Edinburgh Beagles, Edinburgh Eagles and Glasgow Stags in the BUIHA. Last January saw Vicky a part of the GB University side that took part in the World Student Games at Lake Placid, New York. And perhaps the best description I have read about Vicky is that having her on the team brings as much energy as having a cup of coffee made with Red Bull instead of water. Another new name is that of Kirkcaldy forward Sophie Campbell, who returns after having a few years away from hockey. Sophie started the season alongside Kate Gillis, who led the Queens in scoring with 14 goals and 27 points last season. Those numbers, along with the standout performances, saw Giles take home the top point scorer award at presentation night, along with the Coach's Player and Queen's Queen awards. Completing that line is Aberdeen youngster Jess Bridger. The Newcomer of the Year award winner finished second in team scoring last season with 12 goals and 20 points, and has secured a two-way deal with Whitley Bay Beacons to also appear in their Elite League side. Dutch forward Emily Kamphuis returns after scoring 8 goals and 14 points across 8 games last time out. She has been paired with Irish international Aisling Rafter and American-born defender Bradley Santelli, who has often been used as a forward in the early games this campaign. Another Irish international, Laura O'Sullivan, is back for another year. The Cork-born winger had a great season in Division 2, scoring 11 goals and bagging 15 points. Laura started the season alongside Megan Singleton and Kazakh-American Aza Kenzabekova, who scored 8 goals and 13 points across 12 games last season. Also in contention when the Whitley Bay Beacons don't have a game is East Kilbride-born Claire Turnbull, who has the ability to dominate a game, as evidenced in the Queen's recent win in Dumfries last week, while her Whitley Bay teammate, Emily Luck, has also been a good fit where she has been deployed. The Glasgow forward is very adept at playing on defence and has a glittering career in university hockey too. Completing the forward options is new signing from Taiwan, Singling Tao. One player who looks to be missing out this season is Iron Lady Award winner Kelly Bertram. After a frustrating injury over a summer, looks to keep her out for some time. Caledonia's defence is the envy of a fair few Elite League teams. Leading them is exciting Canadian Jessie Malloy, who is easily identifiable by the yellow helmet that she wears, which originates from her hometown team in Carlton Place, Ontario. Jessie often lines up alongside fellow Canadian Kendall van der Veen, but has also partnered Beacons youngster Isabel Johnson when available. Michelle Davidson is another standout Canadian talent. The Burlington, Ontario native often lines up alongside youngster Violet Mayer or American Bradley Santelli to provide more experience on the blue line. Beth Diascoon returned home to Scotland after spending the vast majority of her senior career with Kingston Diamonds. Her leadership adds yet more quality to an already strong blue line. Schooner is usually paired with Jordan Troop, who was settled onto the Queens nicely ahead of what is going to be her second season there. Like Johnson, Caitlin Eastwood and Caitlin Morrison come in on a two-way deal from Whitley Bay and will play whenever there is no fixture clash. In goal, Canadian-born Airlise Hunter is unavailable for this season, so in her place has come Tatiana Archibald, who arrived from San Jose, California. Argentina-born Consuelo Mesones Raba continues as backup, while Telford-based Alice Summerford has signed as a further option, particularly with the games that will take place south of the border. The Queens might only be in their first year at this level and just their second in the WNIHL, but they are a team on the move and expect them to figure in the end-of-season promotion battle. Sheffield Shadows have gone through a lot of changes to their roster over the past year, but can rely on 15 members of last season's team returning for the 2024-25 campaign. Former Whitley Bay goalie Jess Kinghorn showed considerable commitment to the team, travelling several hours on a weekly basis for training. She's welcome back for a second season, defending the net, and was voted the coach's player and the player's player for last season. In front of Jess and patrolling the blue line is alternate captain Charlotte O'Brien, who got married in the off-season and returns as Charlotte Pirrie. Charlotte is also an assistant coach of the Shadows Div 2 side and took home the Sportsmanship Award for last season. Charlotte is joined on defence with team captain Kelly Walsh and former Shadows junior Caitlin Stocks, who remains on a two-way deal with Whitley Bay in the Elite. Rowan Yellett-Bilby also returns, and she was voted last season's best defender for Sheffield Academy's under-18s and under-23s, as well as the Shadows Div 1 and Div 2 sides. Last season's Rookie of the Year, Alicia Potts, will lead the forwards. The GB under-18s player is on a two-way deal with Solihull Vixens in the Elite. Ishbel Wright continues to be a key player within both the Shadows and the university teams. She is another who remains on a two-way deal, but with the Kingston Diamonds in the Elite. Hazel Taylor returns to the squad and as an assistant coach. Grace Leeming enters her sixth season with the Shadows and continues as part of the university setup in Sheffield too. Grace has played over 170 games across her career. Beating her in terms of longevity is Hazel Wilson, who is about to start her 28th season with the Shadows, having played over 330 games for them. This will be Hazel's 29th season of playing hockey, and she will serve as alternate captain and was voted best forward for last season. Alison Brain will be returning to the Div 1 side later this year, along with Hayley Reynolds, who was the Div 2 side's best forward throughout last season. Leah Cheetham, perhaps the most utilised utility player. Is she a forward or is she a defender? She is dangerous to the opposition in either position, and she is still under 23 years of age, so she can continue to be a part of the Div 2 squad as well as the Div 1 team. The same will apply to Phoebe Gregg, who will be available to both sides after having spent some time with Kingston Diamonds for a couple of years. Robin Wilson-Barrett has made a positive impact since making her Shadows debut a couple of seasons back, and was voted as the Shadows Div 1 and the Under-18 Sheffield Academy's most improved player for last season. She is another who will turn out for both Shadows sides this season. As for new signings, some should be familiar faces. Holly Neenan returns to women's hockey and to the Shadows. Holly is also a highly respected referee, both within the UK and internationally. Exciting two-way player Charlie Farr steps up for her first senior year with the Shadows, having played for the under-16 side in recent years, while Nottingham youngster Faith Laverty arrives on a two-way deal from the Elite League side Solihull Vixens. Another exciting youngster is that of Eva Selassie, who made the GB under-16s roster last season and is also on a two-way deal with Solihull this year as well. Eva is in her final year with the Shadows under-16s girls team and is part of the on-ice leadership group there. Former Grimsby Wolves top scorer Emma Taylor-Lonsdale joins after the sad demise of the Lincolnshire side. Emma, who is at university in Sheffield, plays in the WNIHL League and will turn out for both the Shadows Div 1 and Div 2 sides. Another local university student is that of Chloe Carter, who has opted to return to women's hockey after having some time away from the sport. The former Peterborough and Milton Keynes player was convinced to put her skates back on over the summer and is another who will also be playing for the Div 2 squad as well. And finally, ex-Billingham Wildcats player Jessie Barnicoat is another to return to women's hockey after a 10-season hiatus. Jessie has been playing for the RAF teams since joining up to the forces. It's a different looking Sheffield side for this season, but one that is hoped will be in contention for a playoff berth. The Solway Sharks have been forced into something of a rebuild for this season after several senior players opted not to return. Last season's best forward, Vicky Carson, along with defender Jordan Troop, have signed with Caledonia. Becca Boardman has signed with Nottingham after moving to Derby University, while Rosie Adey and Lauren Clark have both retired. Well, for now at least. As for those that have returned, it has been a busy summer for top playmaker Amanda Murdoch, who took part in the Bristol and Sheffield summer tournaments, as well as appearing at the Charity All-Stars weekend in Sheffield, as she represented the Help for Heroes team back in August. While the previous weekend saw Amanda, along with Sharks teammates Mo Muir and Karen Craig, out in Slovakia representing GB at the Ball Hockey Championships as part of the Lionesses Legends team. Michelle Croucher, who was named Best Senior Player for last season, is another to return and boost the Sharks' offence, while Tyneside-based Kate Bateman returns for a second season in Dumfries. GB Under-18s phenomenon Cassie McGregor, who finished last season as both top goal scorer and top point scorer, will be vital to the Sharks' success again this year. Cara Murdoch and Karen Craig have also re-signed, but have yet to feature so far. Youngsters Megan Walker, who was voted most improved player for last season, and Megan MacArthur, who was best junior player, have both returned as well, with the latter being deployed as a forward at times this season rather than her more traditional defensive position, while Abby Turner, Eden Spencer and Molly Walker have come into the side for this season. Emily Duffy arrives in a two-way deal from Whitley Bay, and Rose Abbott has moved north from Leeds Roses. The defence has taken a massive blow, with Naomi Warwick currently ruled out with a serious knee injury. However, Solway will be pleased to welcome back last season's best defender, Sarah Wilson, along with Katie Russell, who was awarded the Coach's Merit. Also turning out on the blue line will be talented youngsters Emma Miller and Macy Simpson, along with last year's Players Player and Rookie of the Year, Rosa Salonen. Finnish-born Rosa has previously played for LL89 in the Suomi Saaja and Mestis leagues. Based in Lapinlahti, northern Finland, Rosa spent the 2015-16 season there before taking some time away from the sport. Rosa has skated since the age of 8 and grew up playing ringette. In goal will be the uber-talented Lizzie Meikle, whose shot-stopping abilities will keep her side in many a game. Much of last season's roster for the Nottingham Vipers have returned. However, there is one notable exception, that of Canadian forward Robin Mullen, who has led the team in scoring for the past few seasons and was often the difference for her side. The Nova Scotia-born player has opted to sign with the Solihull Vixens in the Elite League for this campaign, leaving a large gap to fill in their lineup. Robin's former line mate Sarah Kimber certainly knows how to put the puck in the net. Still only 19, Sarah came through the highly rated Nottingham Junior system, playing for the under-16 girls team in 2017-2018. She also played for the Ice Cats in the boys under-15 league before making her Vipers debut in 2021-22. Charlotte Sims has been with the Vipers since 2019, having previously iced with the under-16 side from 2017, and is another who could feature on a revamped top line, along with Leicester-born centre Emma Wilkinson, the latter of which has been with the side since 2002 and was captain for the last few seasons. Norwich-born Kaylee Bickle returned to the Vipers lineup in 2022, having originally played for the club between 2018 to 2020. She often played alongside Alia Hemming, who enters her fourth season of senior hockey with the Vipers, and Kelly Daniels, who is about to start her sixth season. The highly rated Gemma Dilley is usually amongst the team's top scorers. Still only 17, Gemma made her debut 3 years ago and bagged 32 points in her first 2 campaigns. Gemma also plays for the Lions under-18s and had a one-off appearance for the Kingston Diamonds in the Elite League a couple of years back. Gemma started playing for the Ice Cats and the Vipers under-16s in 2019. Other forwards that will be in contention are Olivia Oxley, Matilda Rayner, Michaela Johnson, Victoria Parry and Kay Naylor, while Becca Boorman comes in from Solway after moving to Derby for university. Nottingham junior Grace Ralphs made her Vipers debut in 2021-22 before splitting her time with the Kingston Diamonds. She will bring that experience to the Vipers blue line, along with Laura Dance, who is the younger cousin of former Solihull Vixens centre Paige. Laura has been with the Vipers since 2016. Morgan Cameron made her Vipers debut in the Premier League during the 2017-18 campaign. She has been with the side most of the time since. However, did spend the 2021-22 season with the Sheffield Shadows B team. Claire Jones has been with the Vipers since 2010 and was a part of the club's dramatic rise to the Elite League in 2019, where she made 14 appearances. Others to feature for the Vipers are likely to be Anis Thomas, Natalie Chaplin-Smith, Lauren Sherlaw and Rebecca Speckman, while Helen Ingham moves from Grimsby Wolves. In goal, the Vipers have brought in former Kingston Diamonds goalie Libby Bird, while Caitlin Woolley also returns and will serve as backup. It was a tough baptism for Caledonia's new Division 2 side, who were hammered by a scoreline of 29-3 by the Leeds Roses at the Border Ice Rink in Kelso last weekend. Barely a minute had been played when Jazz Daniel opened the scoring. Taylor Simmons and CJ Harrison added to the lead, but Elise Blakely got one back for the Queens to make it 3-1 as the two teams approached the midpoint of the opening period. It was the youngsters' first Queens goal, as well as being the team's first goal since being formed over the summer. But Leeds soon added 2 more to their tally, Morgan Lee Walker and Nadia Melenda, netting just 47 seconds apart. Not to be deterred, Queens scored again before the 12-minute mark, with Rebecca Nixon making it 5-2, with her first goal for the club as well. However, that would be as good as it got for the home side, as Leeds ran up the scoreline. CJ Harrison scored twice in 12 seconds to grab a first-period hat-trick, before Holly Hancock made it 8-2 at 13:02. Jazz Daniel grabbed her second of the game before the period was over to put the Roses in a commanding position. Queens started the second period much better and found the net a minute in, Laurie Ellis. But incredibly, Leeds rattled in 11 unanswered goals, with 8 of them coming within a span of just 7 minutes and 50 seconds. CJ Harrison added 2 more to her collection, while Jazz Daniel scored a second-period hat-trick. Taylor Simmons grabbed her second of the game, while Kim Sharples and Eve Sadler both scored their first Roses goals. Before the period was over, Leeds scored 3 more, with Daniel scoring her 4th of the session and CJ Harrison registering another hat-trick inside just 20 minutes. Leeds never eased up on the Queens and scored another 9 goals before they were done. Nadia Molenda, CJ Harrison, Jazz Daniel and Tori Johnson further extended the Roses' lead, with the final 5 goals all arriving inside the last 3.5 minutes. Morgan Lee Walker, Nadia Molenda, Jazz Daniel, Eve Sadler and Emma Allender completing the rout. In all, 10 Roses players scored, a further 4 registering assists, meaning everyone, aside from goalie LMA Hobley Flitcroft, registered a point. Jazz Daniel scored 8 times, with CJ Harrison netting 7, while there were hat-tricks for Nadia Molenda and Taylor Simmons. On a difficult opening game, the Queens could at least be happy that Remy Delsett, Abby Henderson and Anna Comrie all collected points, with Rebecca Nixon being named player of the game for her debut goal. Lynn Sinclair was named Queen's Jester, while Spera fought too for Queen's goalie Erin Riley, who was kept busy and made 36 saves throughout. Rose's player of the game went to defender Eve Sadler, who scored her first ever goals for the club, while player's player went to Holly Hancock, who made her senior Roses debut and also scored her first Roses goal too. Hardest worker went to Sophie Lancashire. The two clubs' under-16 sides met just before that game, with a very different result. Holly Hancock had given the Junior Knights the lead early on with her first goal for the team, but Molly McGillian soon levelled for the home side before Maisie Simpson converted on a power play to give the Iron Maidens a 2-1 lead by the end of the first. Leeds tied the game up 5 minutes into the second period when Lithuanian-born Vakare Vaitilevichute scored, but the teams wouldn't remain tied for long. Just 10 seconds later, former Whitley Bay Beacons junior Megan MacArthur restored the Iron Maidens' lead before she added a second 7 minutes later. Molly Walker and a second of the game for McGillian saw the Iron Maidens win their inaugural game. Megan MacArthur was named player of the game for her 3-point game, while Violet Mayer was presented with the Heavy Metal Award. The Whitley Bay Beacons played their first Division 2 North game of the season on Sunday when they made the trip to Hull to take on Kingston Diamonds. The Beacons were also making their first appearance in their new road jerseys and were able to welcome back a couple of players who were making their seasonal debuts in Rowan Allen and Claire Wilson, while Brooke Royce made her senior debut and Lindsay Zurban-Young made her first Beacons appearance as an outskater. Emily Duffy and Tanya Royce, who worked to great effect in the recent cup loss at home to Leeds Roses, stayed together with Paige Brooks coming in on their line, while Iona Harrison and Captain Joy Hurst also stayed on the same line, with Rowan Allen coming in. Chloe Johnston formed a third line with Claire Wilson and Brooke Royce. Whitley were without Alex Browell and Caitlin Eastwood on defence, so paired Islay Northend with Isabel Johnson after recently starring in Division 1 with Caledonia Steel Queens. Lisa Eden was with Dee Vause, while Sophie Oxley partnered Canadian goalie Lindsay Zurban-Young. Ruth Palmer got the starting goal. The Beacons wasted little time in taking control of the game, with Tanya Royce supplying Paige Brooks for the first goal just 23 seconds in. They would find themselves 2 goals to the good soon after when Tanya put home Lindsay Zurban's feed at 3:51. Things would get better for Whitley when Captain Joy Hurst netted her first of the season less than a minute later to put her side firmly in charge. Things then seemed to calm down with both defences cancelling out the other team's attack, but the visitors made another fast start to the third period when Lindsay supplied Paige with her second of the game 30 seconds in. With their 4-goal lead, the Beacons continued to look comfortable. However, they put the exclamation point on their performance by adding further goals in the final 4 minutes. Brooke Royce netted her first senior goal and what was her debut, with the primary assist coming from older sister Tanya. Lindsay Zurban-Young also registered her third assist of the game on the play. Whitley scored again 90 seconds later when Emily Duffy scored her third goal in 2 games, before Halifax-born defender Dee Vause netted what was her first Beacons goal too. 24 seconds later, Kingston denied Ruth Palmer a first shutout of the season when the ever-impressive Izzy Oswin set up Kets Robinson for the Diamonds' only goal of the game. After the game, Beacons duo Paige Brooks and defender Dee Vause spoke to the Kingston Diamonds, along with Diamonds duo Ruby Palmer and Ash Clark.
So we've got Paige and Dee here after they've just won 7-1, so well done, guys. I'd just like to ask you, how do you think your game went throughout the periods, and what do you think got you to that 7-1 scoreline?
I think the first period, it was like getting to know where everybody was, and then further along we were getting better. The D's were switching lines, but you got used to where everybody was, and the communication got better throughout. So we was able to score, we were able to get the rebounds, and just keeping it out of our third.
I definitely agree with Dave there. We literally just went in and just said, this is a new team wants to do every game, and just wanted to say, right, this is our game, we're going to do it, and with teamwork, communication was just perfect.
So obviously you've said about the effort and stuff, but do you think the overall ability of the team's up to this season?
I think definitely. The first game we had this season was just it's like dipping the toes into the water, isn't it? It's literally the first game we can do this quite off sometimes. But yeah, I think we should definitely find our feet in the water, and we're definitely looking forward to the rest of the season to get into know our teammates a lot more with the development girls.
Yeah, the first game was a bit iffy. We were just getting to know each other and how each other played. So with this one, we trained more with each other. We've got the ability to know where each other are and learn each other and how each other play.
No worries, thank you both for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So we're here with Ash and Ruby. Well done, Ash, first of all, for Girl of the Game. Smashed it. And obviously you have come off that game on a loss, but what do you reckon you can improve for next game?
Definitely on our changes. There was a lot of time when we changed when we shouldn't have. And we need to work on marking our men a bit as well and clearing the puck out of the zone. Staying on point.
So you're feeling more confident that you can put kind of them things into practice before your next game?
Oh yeah, definitely. We've got quite a few new players that this is the first or the second game, so it's just things we need to work on in training and just get them.
Working on teamwork and communication on the ice, really.
No worries, hopefully it'll all come together for you for the next game. Thank you for your time.
The game between Sheffield Shadows and WNIHL was settled inside the first period. Sheffield took the lead at 4:44 through Afine Adiabor-Moses, with WNIHL back level at 10:43, Linda Decker scoring from Charlotte Cramp. The two would combine again 4 minutes later for what proved to be the game winner, Lucy Kirkham also collecting an assist on the play. The result leaves Sheffield still searching for their first win of the season, while WNIHL remain unbeaten. And in Belgian international De Decker, she has picked up where she left off from the 2022-23 season. Shadows Dora Mail and Wild Stephanie Drinkwater were named the player of the games. The Division 2 Cup is a new competition for this season. There are two groups of 3 teams in the north, while all 12 southern teams are divided into 3 groups of 4 teams each. Each group sees 2 sides from Division 2 South A pitted against 2 from South B for a crossover cup format. It means there may be some large scorelines over the season, but for newcomers Invicta Dynamics, they gave a good account of themselves at home to a strong Streatham Storm team. The South London side were 2 goals to the good after just 73 seconds, defender Alexis Butler and youngster Anya O'Kane both scoring. O'Kane would score again 10 minutes later and would go on to complete a hat-trick courtesy of a power play inside the first 5 minutes of the second period. Defender Jazz Wilson scored off a second Storm power play a couple of minutes later before Petra Kosegi made it 6-0 before the end of the period. Helen Clark and Francesca Thorogood added to the lead in the third, with Mel Prowse scoring a consolation for the Dynamics to make it 8-1 and prevent goalie Juliana Cadini from claiming a shutout. Invicta's Stacey Randall made 42 saves, and Streatham's player of the game went to Anya O'Kane for her hat-trick. This week sees an increased fixture list, with the Elite League returning to action. 5 games are set to take place in the top flight, starting with Whitley Bay versus Streatham Storm, which faces off at 12 noon. The game will be streamed on the club's YouTube channel, so if you can't be there in person, please tune in. An hour later sees the Queen Bees host a Kingston Diamonds side that shocked the league champions last season with a famous win. While Saturday evening sees the Solihull Vixens at home to Guildford Lightning, with a 6:25pm face-off. The following day, Kingston host Solihull at 4:30pm. The game will be streamed on the Diamonds YouTube channel, so please check their social media posts on the day for more details. It's one you won't want to miss, as the Diamonds have a habit of taking points off the Vixens. Streatham bring the curtain down on the weekend when they play Queen Bees at 6:45 on Sunday evening. Elsewhere, Caledonia Steel Queens have another home doubleheader. They play Nottingham Vipers at 4:15 on Saturday, before Game 2 gets underway at 9:15 the following morning. Both games will be on the Steel Queens Facebook Live. By the time that game finishes, it will be just about time to switch over to Diamonds TV for the first of their 2 games of the day. With the Vixens Elite League clash already mentioned, the Div 1 side will also be in action against the Sheffield Shadows with a 12:30pm face-off. There are 2 Division 1 South games on Sunday, with Cardiff Comets at home to Firebees from 4pm and the MK Falcons hosting the Chelmsford Cobras at 6:30pm. There has been no confirmation about live streaming. However, I do know the Firebees intend to stream as many of their games, home and away, as possible this season. So, please do check their Facebook page, Closer to Face Off. In Division 2, Oxford host Cambridge in a varsity clash of sorts at 4:30 on Saturday afternoon, with Sheffield Shadows quickly having a return fixture with the Telford Wrekin Raiders at 6:10. On Sunday, there are 2 cup games, with Streatham at home to Slough Sirens from 4:30, and the Solent Amazons are hosting the Bristol Huskies at 6. So, a guaranteed 5 games for you to watch online over the weekend, with none of them clashing. Tune in where you can, and remember to support women's hockey. That's all for this week. Bye for now.
Please make sure you're following us across all social media platforms
to keep you fully up to date with all things WNIHL.
On Facebook,
follow Ice Maidens, the voice of women's ice hockey,
and check out the website at icemaidens.wordpress.com.
On Instagram and on Twitter.
you can find the podcast
At ZPG Ice Maidens.
and for YouTube,
you can subscribe to Zero Pucks Given.
Please like, follow, share and subscribe.
It all does wonders for spreading the good word
of the ZPG network.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
At Humana, our Medicare Advantage plans give you coverage and care you can count on, along with guided support to help you feel your best. You could have a plan with a $0 premium or an all-in-one plan that may include medical and prescription coverage, as well as routine dental, vision, and hearing. Learn more at gethumana.com. Humana, a more human way to healthcare. Humana is a Medicare Advantage HMO and PPO organization with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in any Humana plan depends on contract renewal.